would say pick one thing and change it. Because if you try to pile on 10 things, you quickly become overwhelmed and you're not going to change. So change one thing. Cut out your sodas, or decide to only buy raw dairy, or the dirty dozen. Pick the dirty dozen in fruits and vegetables. So one thing at a time. Change one thing at a time.
Welcome back to the Falls Homefront, where Wichita Falls leads in North Texas real estate, business, and life. I'm your host, Tim Lockhart, and today's episode is one that I think a lot of people are going to connect with, because we're talking about something that impacts every family in North Texas: where our food comes from, how it's raised, and why supporting local producers matters more today than ever before. Joining me today are Mark and Tara Dora, owners and operators of the Valley View Meat Company in nearby Iowa Park, Texas. Mark and Tara have built their business around a simple but increasingly important mission: providing locally raised all-natural beef, pork, and lamb with a commitment to transparency, sustainability, and responsible stewardship of both the animals and the land. In a world where more people are asking questions about food quality, sourcing, hormones, antibiotics, and what's really on their family's dinner table, they've created a business that gives consumers a direct connection to the people raising their food right here in our own community. So today we're going to talk about what it really means to raise all-natural livestock, the challenges and rewards of running a family ranch operation, why local food systems matter, how sustainable ranching impacts the future of rural communities, and why more families are intentionally choosing to support local producers instead of relying entirely on large commercial supply chains. I also want to explore the connection between strong local business, agriculture, and the long-term health of communities like Wichita Falls and Iowa Park. Because when local families support local producers, those dollars stay here, relationships get stronger, and communities become more resilient. So whether you're interested in agriculture, entrepreneurship, healthier food choices, or simply learning more about the people helping feed Texoma, I think you're going to enjoy this conversation. Mark and Tara, welcome to the Falls Homefront.
Thank you.
Let's talk about how you got started in the ranching business, and what was a defining moment when you decided to shift your focus toward connecting the North Texas community directly with a pure food source?
I'll start off on how we got started. It goes back a few generations. My great-grandfather and grandmother were farmers in Kansas before the Dust Bowl, and during the Dust Bowl, they were unsuccessful. They had lost everything, and the family had to relocate to Colorado Springs. Then my father grew up in Colorado Springs, not in the farming industry or the ag industry, but always had a kind of a passion or an urging or just a calling to get back into it, and was able to later in his life. Bought some land just south of Iowa Park and got back into the cattle industry and doing a little bit of farming. And then from there, Tara and I have grown the operation in a direction that we want to go and we see it as the future, and that we're raising our family and leading from there. To answer your question on a defining moment, for me, I had some health concerns that were coming up, and Tara was in tune, was paying attention, and just really started digging into the importance of what we eat. And I started to notice a change just physically, mentally, how I felt, how I was thinking, even how I looked as far as weight loss or keeping my weight in check. And that was really a defining moment that I thought, you know what, this is something I want to share, that I want other people to have the same success. But I'll let Tara talk more in detail on her defining moment and then her goal and aspirations related to this.
So I haven't bought grocery store meat in, I don't know, probably 20 years because we've raised our own cattle out here. But Mark wanted to sell all the cattle after his dad passed away, and I decided to take them over and raise meat. And so from there, we've just fine-tuned our cattle, and that everything's born on our ranch, raised on our ranch, and then we take it to processing instead of outsourcing our cattle.
That's great. How does your mission to provide simple and pure food align with the broader goal of helping Wichita Falls families thrive?
So for me, I want to raise my children to know what healthy eating looks like. Everything they put in their body is going to have a direct effect on them. So if they eat processed foods, they're going to live an unhealthy lifestyle. So we just want to be good stewards of the land and the animals we take care of and eat God food. So we need to promote that to healthy eating into our community. Know your producer, know what they're feeding the animals.
Tim, I think that goes back to my defining moment also was the benefit of when you really pay attention to what you're putting in your mouth, how that directly affects your everyday living, just how you wake up, how you feel, mentally, how sharp you are versus having brain fog. I think that connection, when I started connecting those dots, that it was really important. And I wasn't listening to somebody else. I was truly listening to my body, and I was feeling it, living it, and I could see the difference daily. I was mentally sharper. I was able to focus on things, and I just had more excitement to life. When you get up in the morning and you don't feel good or you're achy all day, it's just not enjoyable or exciting. But when you wake up in the morning refreshed after a good night's sleep, you look forward to going out and doing things, being adventurous, learning. And that whole mindset or physicality for other people in our community, if more and more people start to feel like that, just think about the change or the whole dynamic of our community. If people are more engaged, they feel better, they want to get out and do things, they want to volunteer more in our community. So there's just a lot of benefits that we don't think about necessarily, but it's tied back to our food and what we consume.
Yeah, if somebody is more accustomed to eating the processed food and going to lunch at the fast food restaurants, and they are considering looking into more healthy food sources, where would they start?
I would say pick one thing and change it. Because if you try to pile on 10 things, you quickly become overwhelmed and you're not going to change. So change one thing. Cut out your sodas, or decide to only buy raw dairy, or the dirty dozen. Pick the dirty dozen in fruits and vegetables. And so one thing at a time. Change one thing at a time.
I would encourage people to take some time and read. Start educating yourself. A key word is nutrient density. I hear a lot that eating organic food or pure, healthy, natural food is too expensive. But really, I think if you understand the term of nutrient density, you really start to focus that you don't have to eat as much processed food. You can eat and not feel full or not get a benefit. Whereas nutrient dense foods, meats or vegetables or fruits, you don't have to consume as much and you get more benefit. So when you take that in consideration, the expense can offset, be the same, or technically, I think you could even eat for less and you're not over consuming. And then you want to take all the other outside stuff. If you're doing processed foods, highly refined foods, if you have additional weight gain, what medical problems come with that and the expenses related. So if you can curtail some of that or not have those issues, it's truly cheaper to eat good food.
Yeah, some people might not know what you were referring to with the dirty dozen.
Oh, fruits and vegetables that are sprayed with pesticides and fertilizers. There's a list called the Dirty Dozen, and those are the fruits and vegetables that are not sprayed or least amount of chemicals sprayed on them. So, for example, the avocado is not sprayed. So you'd be safe not buying organic.
Yes. Okay, that's good. Many people hear about the term regenerative in regards to farming, but what does that look like daily on your ranch?
I'll start with that. For us, we take the word and break it down to regenerate. So we want the farm to be self-sufficient, to regenerate itself over and over without additional inputs from man. So we want the animal, the grass, the soil to all have its life and then be interconnected with each other. So we'll start with soil. Soil health, like, is similar. You have your microbiome in your intestinal tract. Soil has its own little biome. There's bugs, there's microorganisms in that soil. They work together to make that soil more water absorbent, to make it a healthier, more productive, more minerals, more nutrients in that soil. That transfers to healthier grasses. So now your grasses or your diversity within your grasses, and even not necessarily weeds, but things we think might be weeds, but are edible by animals. The animal is therefore consuming this healthier, more nutrient-dense feed stuff or grass, which transfers to a healthier animal that will also have an output or give you better quality meat. And that's our goal, is to do that. We don't want to be reliant on the input side of it. And inputs to us are lots of mechanical work as far as tractor work, plowing. It could be chemicals as far as herbicides, pesticides, fungicides, or even fertilizers. All of those are things that are not produced in our local area. We have to source those from outside. They're very expensive to do. And we feel like the cost of doing those, there's just too many things, the initial cost and the harm that could be produced outside of those. There is a time and a place occasionally for something that needs to be done, but the goal is we want to keep that limited or no use at all anytime we can.
Good. Thanks for that explanation. How does moving the herd around systematically contribute to that with the soil, with the long-term value of the property?
You're the farming side.
Yeah. So we'll talk rotational grazing. And again, this is the emphasis on our soil and our plant life, plant diversity. So rotational grazing is a powerful tool for us. And that's basically where we move the herd from field to field. Instead of just putting them in one field and letting them graze that field year round or for long periods of time, what will happen is you'll see fields where it looks like there's just lots of dirt, where the grass is extremely short, and then you look at other fields around where the grasses are taller. That's a field that does not have rotational grazing. The animals are allowed to just consume until the plant is basically at the dirt level or the plant doesn't exist anymore. There's a direct correlation to the root of that plant. If you graze it down to the ground, that plant has very shallow root systems. If you let these plants go to their mature heights, mature growth stages, some of them may get 18 inches, 2 foot, 2.5 foot tall, but the root systems are correlated to that. So their roots could be 16, 18, 20 inches deep. There's a source of moisture at that level. So rotational grazing is important for us not to overgraze. That also allows that plant to respond quicker. So if the cattle get on the field, they graze, and we rotate them to another field, that plant wasn't overgrazed, so the roots are deeper, so therefore it has a water source, and it can replenish itself faster, regenerate, and then we can rotate back to that field at a future time. If we try to do it all at one time and graze it down, it takes us a long period of time before we can ever use that pasture again.
Yeah, the North Texas climate has a big impact on your operations, and it's springtime now when we are recording this, so we're getting some rain. That's good. However, we also have long periods of drought. How do you navigate that?
So that ties back to our rotational grazing, again, in our soil. So as we do this, healthy soil is like a sponge. Think of your kitchen, your sink, and you have a sponge. It will absorb water and hold that water. A healthy soil will do the same thing. Soils that are not healthy, that are compacted, that are continually plowed or farmed, don't have that water absorption capability. So then you have lots of runoff. Where our goal is, like you brought up, North Texas, springtime, we traditionally get some good rain. We want to hold as much of that moisture as possible by soaking it up like a sponge. And that also carries over. If we can get that moisture to go deeper into the soil profile, that's a deep moisture that we have for those plants that have deeper root systems to utilize when July and August get here when it's extremely hot and dry. If we don't have that and all the water runs off in a rain, carrying sediment, which is fine dirt, to our, basically water always travels downhill. It's going to go to our river source and eventually to our lakes. Then we're just carrying all that dirt and sediment into our rivers and lakes, filling those up, and they have less water holding capacity. But the drawback is we didn't get that water on our farm. We lost it. It landed on our farm and it ran off. And so soil absorption is really a big deal for us. That is the lifeline. We have to have healthy soils to retain that moisture. Another thing is resiliency. The plants will be more resilient to drought if they have some type of water source. If you get plants that are just starved for any type of moisture, they're going to die. And at that point, you have bare land, which opens it up then for either weeds to come in or some type of plant that you don't want. So we want to keep some type of coverage over our soil as much as possible. Water retention aids us in that whole process.
That's very interesting and probably something that a lot of people don't think about when they just go to the grocery store and it's all just there packaged on the shelf. Yeah. Let's talk a little bit again about the concept of food being medicine for us.
Again, everything you put in your body has a direct reaction. So if you are eating all processed foods, you're going to spend your days at the doctor. But if you're eating food that God made, then it's going to be medicine to your body. So good quality meats, good quality dairy, vegetables, fruits, making your own bread. It goes back to the land. If we feed it properly, it grows. If we feed our bodies properly, we grow.
Again, just highlighting that point and how important it is of the decisions we make for the food that we put in our mouth. They're just so important and they take time. You just don't walk in a grocery store and automatically have this ability to pick those foods out or determine what's best. You have to educate yourself. You have to really read. You need to make a commitment. You have to say, this is something I want for myself. You have to have that personal accountability. I want to feel better. I want to improve my overall physical, mental health state. I want this to be a benefit for not only myself, those around me. So if you can educate yourself, share that knowledge with others around you, get them thinking the same way, they'll start asking questions, which will in turn make you dig deeper into your educational journey to learn more about it, to answer those and to be able to share. It's a great system to keep pushing yourself, just learning more and get better and better. We've been working at this for years. And there's lots of items we still don't know, don't understand, questions we can't answer. But we try to keep an open mind to go find the answers or find the process or understand more about the animal, how the cow or the pig or the lamb works. As far as consuming food, we're always learning something new there.
When people talk to you and they have started the shift from just a processed food in the store-bought food to more locally grown and healthy meat and those products, is there anything that they tell you that they start noticing first, maybe with their health? Or
I'll just compare our meat to grocery store meat. First, you have to look at marketing tactics and what those marketing tactics mean. A big one now is grass-fed. Of course, all cattle are grass-fed, but is it only grass-fed, or what supplementation did that beef get? The other thing is when you're buying local, all of our meat, so it's, for example, our ground, our when we take steers to the butcher, it's not all compiled into one package of ground. Each steer stays separately. And so we know where that meat came from. We know exactly which steer it came from. It's not a compilation of multiple steers. The other thing is our cattle don't travel very many miles as compared to birth to butcher to the store as compared to store-bought meat. They're born on a farm. They're raised for so many days. They go to a feed yard. They go to a packing house. And then it's distributed to stores. So an animal from the store has traveled many miles before it ever gets to your plate. So that's the difference. Our animals are born here, raised here, and they go straight to the butcher and come straight back to me. So I think that's a big difference. Taste is a difference also because it's one steer in a package. It's not multiple steers combined together.
Tim, I will say one of the feedbacks that we get is the overall, I guess, just the taste. When people take a bite of, let's say, a steak, they're just overwhelmed by the different flavors that come to them and just the richness. And a lot of this, Tara hinted on it, was the whole process of raising an animal all the way through the harvest. And so stress, no different than the human body, your body or mine. When we're under stressful situations, we do things different. We act different. We feel different. The animal is no different. So stress is extremely important to us to maintain an animal with the least amount of stress possible. You get high levels of stress in an animal, you're going to have a completely different taste quality to that meat. So we focus a lot on that stress part of it. She also brought up again, inputs, synthetic or man-made inputs that can go into commercial cattle. Our goal is to reduce inputs to anything that is only essential. If we don't have to use it. One of the things too, going into the food was, I hear a lot of times that people are like, hey, we love what you're doing, but we can't do what you're doing on a large scale and feed the world. And I would probably argue that to a point. I firmly believe we can feed the world with what we're doing, but it's a different approach on how we do it. One, people would have to get tied back into agriculture. Families, individuals would have to be tied to the land, and it's a labor of love. It's a lot of work. This is not an office job by any means, but it's going to take a lot more people working in the raising of our food to be able to do that. Now, the commercial space has its space. It's able to produce large quantities of food with a limited amount of people to feed the world. Does it work? Yes, it feeds the world. We can do that. But I always tell everybody that I firmly believe we can still feed the world by doing things the right way, in my opinion. We look at these animals are a source of pride. We want them to be the best they can be. And I think if people have that approach from taking care of their animal to and overall what they consume and taking care of themselves, they'll be more vested and more willing to put that work in or to do the extra things needed to get that high quality food.
Good. Thanks for that, Mark. And so that kind of leads into my next question. As North Texas continues to grow, where do you see the local food and the agricultural movement heading in the next 5 years or so?
I think it's going to be tied not just so much to the growth in North Texas. I think we're starting to see some things in the macro environment across the world that we have outsourced so much stuff to other places that in times of need or if supply issues get in the way, that we are handicapped at some point. And so I think people are starting to take note of that and realize that, hey, even at the local level, North Texas level, we can have a say and we can do something about this. And food is a perfect example. Is it the best growing environment in North Texas for crops and animals? Not necessarily. We definitely have our periods of drought that are very challenging. But again, there's resources and tools out there that if you're willing to learn and educate and put in the work, that you would be amazed at what one person or a family can produce. We're a good example. We're a husband and wife with 3 kids. We definitely produce way more food than we can consume as a family. And so it doesn't take a lot of families to start getting this mindset. And then you have a local food source that's feeding your local economy and the local people. And it's something that I think it's important. It gives us some resiliency as a community. It gives us security as a community to know that, hey, if something happens, we can ramp up or gear up because, one, we have educated individuals in the area that understand this. They don't have the learning curve ahead of them, that they can take care of our neighbors and ourselves and help our community thrive.
Great. This has been a very insightful conversation. Thanks for joining us, Mark and Tara. And so if people want to find out more about what you're doing or how to purchase some of the products you produce, how would they connect with you?
You can go to our website, valleyviewmeatco.com, or we are on Facebook and Instagram. Again, Valley View Meat Co. I think it's valley_meat_meat-co. Text me, call me, ask questions, stay curious.
Her number, by the way, is 940-781-7474. I would also put in there that we are always open to individuals, small groups, even larger groups. If they would contact us and they would like to see what we're doing out here, we're definitely open to that. We love to have visitors. We love to share what we're doing. Matter of fact, we've had several people come out and they'll ask us questions and I don't have an answer. I go read. I try to find the answer to that question. And that has led to some changes on how we do things, because then it gets Tara and I thinking at a deeper level. Wow, we never thought about that, but that's a great point. Can we make a change that will meet that goal? And most of the time, when you really look into it, yes, you can. Now, not everything. Some things have come up and those are just, one, it doesn't meet our goal or what we're after, or two, they're just unachievable at the time for us. But we love that openness. We love people to come out and communicate with us. We love to educate people and continue our own education.
We host ag days for our local private schools and homeschool groups. We've done that. And then we're also remodeling an old farmhouse to open a store. So look for classes coming soon. Bread making, butter making.
Yeah, yogurts, cheeses.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, so we will look for that to be announced to come open. So it's great. And to those listening out there, if you're planning to buy or sell a home in Wichita Falls, or even just starting to think about it, reach out to me directly. I'll help you understand your options, build a strategy, and connect with you with the right people so that you can move forward with confidence. And you can contact me directly through my website, timlockharthomes.com, or send me a message. And if you found this episode helpful, make sure you subscribe and share it with someone who could benefit from it. So thanks for listening to the Falls Home Front, where Wichita Falls leads in North Texas real estate, business, and life.
Thank you.
Appreciate you tuning in. Want more insider tips on buying, selling, and investing in Wichita Falls and North Texas? Subscribe now and keep watching. Your next move starts here.